Can you hear me? All right. Okay, so this is an excerpt from the story I've written called No Hope, No Fear. And so the main character is in the process of putting the pieces of, back together after a bad breakup. When someone broke a bottle of Bud against Hoop's brow, a light flashed in his head. He beamed instead of passing out, and then he licked the blood off his smiling lips. The crowd cleared Hoop some space, and he bled into his white t-shirt until a sympathetic mate stepped forward and offered him a hand, a drink of beer, and led him out the door. Imagine, on the corner of 8th and Folsom, Hoop, 6 feet tall and shirtless, bleeding generously into his shoulders and chest, his blood-wet t-shirt clumped against his face, trying to hail a cab. Eventually, security appeared and called an ambulance. Hoop beamed through the 3 hours it took to sew his face back together at San Francisco General, grateful for the new life before him. This is it, he thought. I start life now, and every single day of the month it took to heal, he examined his scabby face in the mirror. My life is here, he'd say, in these purple welts, these craggy lines. I am the scar, he'd say, touching his fingertip to his nose, tracking the rocky Z crowning his forehead. But hardly a sign of that fight was visible now. There was hardly a scar to prove he was alive, no comfort in the mirror. This was disappointing. What is a tattoo then, if not a scar? And what is a scar, if not a trophy? He needed a trophy. He got a tattoo. Hoop's was a beautiful tattoo, a tribal piece of filigree ironwork crawling up his entire left arm. His trophy. Now, everywhere he went, the scar was evident. It was talked about, lingered over, an invitation and something for him to be proud of. He wore it on the outside like armor, and though he cherished it, he never took it in, never held it inside. I am that scar. I am this tattoo, he'd say in his head, watching it rise and harden, his eyes following the ink blue lines, knowing they were permanent and hard, watching them disappear, then reappear, disappear, but always reappearing, permanent, hard, dangerous, beautiful. He watched his fist disappear up any man's asshole. Felt the tattoo exploring slick new worlds. First the tail feather, then the rain cloud, then the double-headed eagle, the wind-rushed feathers of the Hopi rainbird. As his forearm got thicker, hand sunk deeper, the skin of the man's hole stretched around Hoop's own skin. The tattoo served as a marker, how deep he went that time. Here's how deep I went with Chuck, he'd say to himself, looking at the feather's tip. That's Chuck's mark there. With some men, Hoop could bury his arm to the elbow. He'd smile just before he sunk it all the way, look down, and there would be the two heads of the eagle watching him, just the two heads. Iron-faced, peering up at him, the rest of the bird disappearing into the man's hole, watching him, eye locked to eye, Hoop mesmerized. Those men would look into Hoop's eyes, they'd both look into the eagle's eyes, then back at each other again. Hoop buries the whole thing, follows the eagle's eyes into the man. Inside the man he burrowed, spread his wings, opened up, blew his load and his mind.
Yes!